All right, guys, welcome back to my channel. We are talking about something kind of fun today, which is the secret language of your beta readers. And the reason we need to talk about this is because your beta readers are not exactly forthcoming in the way that they say things. They will never just say what they mean. And so I want to help you decode some of the things they say and what they really mean by them, because it's very rare that a beta reader will look you in the eyes and be like, I hated your book. No one will ever say that to you. And so I want to give you guys some of the telltale signs to know if that's the case or if they really did love it. So here is a video about decoding the language of your beta readers. So I'm going to start by saying that if your beta reader is your mom, nothing she says is reliable. If she says that your book is great, it could mean that your book is great. It could mean that your book is mediocre. It could also mean your book is terrible. And you know why? Because everybody's mom will tell them that their book is great. So while I highly encourage you to give it to your mom to read, don't take what she says as empirical evidence of the quality of your book, okay? You need to give it to other people. And usually close friends are not the best indicator as well, although there are some exceptions. Actually, I do have some close friends who were pretty critical the first time I gave them my book to read. But for the most part, what I would recommend is finding some beta readers, either who you don't know or who are kind of like friends of friends, people who you don't know super well, who will be a little bit more open and not so worried about hurting your feelings. If you can find those people, that is awesome. But it is sometimes difficult to find people who are ready to tell you that your book is boring, who's not just like a straight up editor. So here are some of the ways that you can tell if that's the case. So if you hand your book out to a bunch of different beta readers and you ask them to review it, to give you feedback, to tell you how to improve it, and you check back in a couple weeks later and your beta readers say, oh, I've just been so busy, I haven't gotten to it. Or they say, oh, I've started it and it's really good. I haven't gotten around to finishing it. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but I have to be. You guys, this is tough love, but it means they were not into your book. And you know, there are some exceptions, like somebody literally got the busiest they have ever been in their whole life and literally could not pick up a book if it was gonna save them from a tornado. Like, there are some times when people are that busy, but if you guys are avid readers, you know, if you find a book that you fall in love with, then all of those other things going on in life, I know that you really are busy. Like, I know that that's real, but you find a way to read. If it's a book you love, you'll find a way to make it happen. And so if your beta readers are not finding a way to make it happen, it is a sign that they don't love your book, which is not necessarily a sign that your book is bad. It's very possible that it just wasn't right for them. But I want you guys to know that if they say, I've started it, or if they say, oh, I've just been really busy lately, it means that it either like didn't suck them in, it wasn't what they wanted to read. There is some reason that they aren't getting through it. And you need to take that into consideration. Don't just take that at face value and be like, oh, well, they're really busy, they didn't get to read it. You need to take that as a sign that something needs to change. And unfortunately, it would be really nice if they would tell you if they would say what was boring about it, but almost no beta reader will ever say to your face your book was boring, or have the know-how or the ability to tell you why it was boring. That's very in-depth editor stuff. But that is a sign that something could be wrong with it. So if you have like a book that's kind of middle of the line, so it's not bad, but it's not great, some of the things that you might hear from your beta readers are, they'll come to you and say, okay, I finished your book, which is really definitely a good sign. Like, that's the first really good sign. They'll say, I finished it and I have these comments for you. Like, here are some of the things I would change. If they have some pretty big structural comments, I would definitely take those under advisement and know that, you know, if they are willing to say that to you, there is probably a lot of room for improvement in your manuscript. So you're definitely in a good spot if your beta readers are finishing it. Outside of your close friends and your close family, if you have people who you don't know who are able to pick up the book and finish it, you're already really off to a great start, because that is truly not always the case. If your beta readers come back and they hand you the book and they say, oh, it was good, it means you need new beta readers. That is the worst thing a beta reader can do, is to have no feedback, to just say, oh, I read it and it was good. I'll tell you guys a story, actually. When I very first started Secrets of the Tally, I gave it, or after I finished my first draft, I gave it to 50 different people who actually ended up reading through it and finishing it. And they came back to me, and most of them, I mean like in the 40s came back and said, oh, it was really good. And guess what, guys? They are not my beta readers anymore. They never got to beta read another manuscript of mine because that is not helpful. It's not telling me like what to fix, what they loved. If they don't have in-depth comments, don't use them as your beta readers. The way to know if your book is really, really, truly good is those beta readers will come back to you and they will want to gush about it to you. If they come to you wanting to share the experience that they had with that book, it means that they had an experience worth sharing. So I want you guys to keep that in mind. If your book is truly great and it is going to resonate with your readers, the way that you know that is when they come to you full of excitement, wanting to discuss it. That is how you know you have a really top-notch book that is ready to either pitch to agents or self-publish, whatever it is you're deciding to do. That's how you know that it is really, really gonna go over well. And my honest advice would be to keep rewriting and giving to more readers and getting more feedback until you get to that level, until you have people come back to you just so excited to discuss the story with you. I just don't think it's ready. I think that that is a sign, at least for me, that is the level I want every one of my books to be at. If it's not there, then I don't feel like it's ready to publish. I don't want to put it out in the world yet until it's at that level. And so, you know, whether or not you agree with that is totally up to you guys, but that is my own personal opinion of it, is that you want books that affect readers in that way. Otherwise, I don't think you're putting out your best work, and I would keep working on it until you hit that milestone. So beta readers are actually like a lot of fun. It's one of my favorite parts of the book writing process when I give my first draft to a couple of my favorite beta readers, people who I know have really good constructive feedback every single time. And then we sit down, I mean, truly, it's like a 4-hour sit down conversation every time we have one of these big edit sessions. And it is so much fun because you have people who are in depth in the story, who get it at the level that you get it and are excited to talk about it with you. It is such an awesome time. Beta readers are so fun. So are editors. You know, I kind of use those terms interchangeably a lot of times, which is probably not exactly correct. But my beta readers are my editors. I have them lined up. I have a method to my madness. I have my first beta readers slash editors are the ones who are really good at structural changes. They're looking at the big story picture, at, you know, this character is just totally falling flat, or I hated this character because they made this decision. You have to be open at that level to like the big structural changes of, you know, reorganizing an entire section of the book to make it more of a build-up to the big climactic moment where you find out who the traitor is. Whatever it is, it's the big structural changes. I have those as my very first beta readers, and over the course of giving my book to 50 people, I figured out who was good at what, who was good at the big structural stuff. And then after that, I actually send it back to those same people again most of the time, and then they'll read it a second time and send it back to me. I'll make big changes. I mean, it takes sometimes a month or two to make the changes that they suggest. And I don't make them if I don't agree with them. Like, I only make them because they are really good suggestions. You know, ultimately I have total ownership and control over the books, and a lot of times they suggest something and I'm like, nah, I don't like that. But a lot of the stuff they suggest is really good. So I send it back to them. My next level of like beta readers is people who are good at looking at just like kind of the voice and the style, just really like saying, this paragraph it didn't really grab me, it wasn't that interesting, or like kind of the smaller things of like, I don't think this character would have said this in that circumstance. That would be more like the next level of editing slash beta reading, whatever you want to call it. And the last thing I do is my mom is my final proofreader, because she catches every little mistake, every little grammar error and issue. She's always my last person who looks over it. So I just kind of have them in tiers of like big structural edits, smaller like line edits, like just kind of looking for voice and style and the smaller stuff, and then just proofreading, typos, grammatical errors. That's the very last thing that's ever done. You don't want to be looking for, you know, missed commas if you're going to end up rewriting the entire chapter. It's just a waste of time. It's a waste of your time and your beta reader's time. So beta readers are great. I have just one last thing I want to leave you guys with, since we're kind of talking about like secret conversational tidbits, how to decode the secret language of your beta readers. I think that's what I called this video. So the last thing that I want to say is just kind of like a couple of conversational tidbits for readers and for writers when you guys are carrying on a conversation together about your book, kind of some do's and don'ts. So writers, one of the things that I highly recommend is if you see somebody and you know you gave them a free copy of your book 2 weeks ago, don't ask if they've read it. That puts them on the spot, and it's very uncomfortable for them to have to look you in the eye and say, no, I'm sorry, or like come up with an excuse. Sometimes they'll actually just straight to your face say, oh yeah, I did read it. Like they're put on the spot so much that I don't know why it happens, but I've seen it happen where I realize like I've put them on the spot and they really haven't read the book, but they just told me they did, but they don't know anything about it with which to carry on a conversation. It creates this horrible awkwardness where they're going to avoid you the next time they see you. So don't ask them that. Don't ask if they've read the book. What you can ask is ask if they've started. That is a much easier question to answer if they, haven't gotten to it yet. Just ask, hey, have you had a chance to start the book? That is a way easier question to ask. It's a way easier question to answer. It avoids all of that awkward tension between you in the future. They're not going to try to avoid you the next time they see you because they haven't read your book yet. So that's a small tip to writers. Readers, if you have read the book, and not in the sense that you're like a beta reader, or I guess maybe you could be, I don't know. But if you're just somebody who's read a book and you're talking to the author, one thing that people say a lot that I don't think you realize how it gets interpreted is that people will say, oh, your book reminded me of this, or, oh, I read a book just like yours the other day. It was this. And I know what you're trying to say. You guys are trying to be very positive and say, oh, I'm comparing you to somebody who's really good. But I want you guys to know that what the writer hears when you say that is not, I'm comparing you to somebody very good. What they hear is, I've read this book before, your idea's not that original. So honestly, there's not really any better way that it could be said. There's no like quick fix to, oh, instead of saying this, maybe try saying it this way. It's just, when you say that, when you compare a writer's work to somebody else's work, you may mean it as a compliment, but I just want you guys to know it doesn't usually come across that way. So you know what? Take that, leave it, I don't care. I just wanted to throw it out there as something that I have observed time and time again, not just with myself, but with other readers and other writers. And it's just kind of something fun to address and talk about. And so now you guys know. Anyway, that is everything I have about the secret language of beta readers. And so I will see you guys in the next video. Go ahead and hit subscribe if you have not already, and I'll see you soon.